I already divorced you. Clean up the room and get out. You don't have a place to come back to anymore. I had to be hospitalized for a long time. Although I was worried about my home, I couldn't do anything because of my bad relationship with my husband. However, when I decided to return home after being discharged, the key to my house didn't work. When I contacted my husband for the first time in a while, he showered me with such terrible words. A divorce certificate. It's true that I was made to fill it out before I was hospitalized, and in reality, the relationship between us was so cold that we could have divorced at any time. However, it's strange that he would declare a divorce at this time, and it's impossible that he has already divorced me. I won't forgive him anymore. I'm thinking of sending that man to hell. My name is Anna. I'm 38 years old and have been married for 10 years. I'm currently a housewife. I've lived my life according to what my husband, Carter, says for the past 10 years. If he asked me to quit my job, I did. I checked what he wanted to eat every day and made dishes that satisfied him. I thought I had done everything for my husband. However, we were not blessed with children. When Carter gave up infertility treatment, his attitude toward me changed completely. They told me today at the hospital that I should give up on having children. They said it would be tough no matter how many years it took. I see. Then there's no other choice but to do that. We both had problems. Especially, I thought I had been concentrating on treatment as my husband told me to, but I ended up giving up on infertility treatment in the 8th year. For my husband, infertility was a woman's problem. Until then, we had been living together, thinking about each other, but now we haven't even talked at home since we stopped infertility treatment about 2 years ago. What time will you be back today? Is there anything you want to eat? If you have any requests, I'll make it. No, I don't need it. I don't want to talk to you, who can't have children. To be honest, it's painful to be in the same space with you. So I don't need food either. You can't have children. My husband started saying such things to me without hesitation. He also started saying and doing things that I didn't want him to say or do. Hey, I've told you many times, but it's not just my fault. If you think it's a lie, go to the hospital and come with me to hear the test results. It's unfair to leave everything to me. When did my husband become such a terrible person? He's become so unpleasant that I can't even feel the kindness he had when we first got married. I was 37 years old at the time. I started to think that it might be okay to consider divorce and start a new life. In the midst of all this, my husband came home drunk and said, "Don't you think there's no point in us living together? You can't have children, and you're just being supported by me." What do you mean? My husband, who was standing in front of me with an incoherent tone, handed me a piece of paper from his bag. Here. Do you know what this is? If you don't know, I'll tell you. It's a divorce form. Fill it out now. I'll keep it for you. What's going on? I quit my job because you told me to. I felt angry at the suddenness of it all. I briefly considered whether or not to talk it over, but I ended up signing the divorce form as I was told. After all, I had already decided to get a divorce, and I thought it was only a matter of time before it happened, even if we talked about it. Besides, even if we did get divorced, I thought he would tell me properly before taking it to the court. You and I being married was really just a waste of time. Even my parents were looking forward to having my child. I feel completely betrayed. Are you talking about that again? If you're going to say that so many times, go to the hospital yourself and find out. I felt nothing but disgust for my husband, who blamed me for not being able to have children. He used a lot of harsh words and spoke as if he were speaking the truth, but to me, everything he said sounded suspicious. I was prepared to be served with divorce papers at any time. In fact, I wanted him to leave as soon as possible. However, even after a month had passed, my husband showed no signs of leaving and seemed to be living his life as usual. As for me, I went to a nearby hospital because I was feeling unwell. The results of the examination were not good, and I was told to have a detailed examination at a large hospital. What? Am I sick? I'm scared. It was an event that happened just as I was thinking of enjoying my second life. I was honestly shocked. When I came home from work, I told my husband I went to a nearby hospital because I wasn't feeling well, and they told me I should be hospitalized at a large hospital. I think I'll be hospitalized starting tomorrow. I told him that, but he didn't seem worried at all. On the contrary, he laughed at me. You're going to be hospitalized because you're not feeling well? I'm the one who's stressed out. You're a useless woman who can't even have children and is being supported by me. You're going to be hospitalized and neglect your housework? You're the worst. How terrible. I thought about what kind of illness it was and whether the prognosis was good. My husband said such terrible things to me, who was anxious and felt like I was being crushed. I wasn't expecting him to be kind to me, but I thought it was impossible for him to say such things as a human being. The next day, I went to a large hospital with a referral letter and was told that I would be hospitalized immediately. I was immediately shown to a hospital room. How long do I need to be hospitalized? I had brought my luggage with me because I was prepared to be hospitalized, but I was so anxious that I asked the nurse in charge. Well, I think the doctor in charge will explain the details, but some patients are hospitalized for as little as a month, while others are hospitalized for much longer. I was told that, and once again, I felt like I was being crushed by anxiety. I told my parents that I would be hospitalized, but I couldn't tell my husband or my parents about my worries and concerns. In the end, the results of the examination revealed that my condition was more serious than I had thought, and I was told that urgent surgery was necessary. The hospital stay was about 3 months. I really wanted someone to be there for me, but I couldn't talk to anyone, so I decided to fight the disease alone. And if I survived the surgery and was discharged from the hospital, I would divorce my husband. That's what I thought. Afterward, the surgery was successful. The attending physician said, "You did a great job. We removed everything bad, so don't worry. All you have to do is have regular checkups to make sure your condition doesn't worsen." I was told that, and I cried with joy and relief. The nurse asked me, "Have you contacted your husband? Aren't you worried?" But I lied and said that he was on a business trip abroad and couldn't be reached. Seeing that he hadn't contacted me even once while I was in the hospital, I think he had no interest in me at all. Anyway, I worked hard on rehabilitation after the surgery, and although I was told that I would be hospitalized for 3 months, I was given permission to leave the hospital about a half month earlier than planned. My illness was cured, and I felt completely elated. I thought I would tell my husband about the date of my discharge, but he didn't answer the phone. He ignored my emails, too. I thought it would be like this, but when I decided on the date of my discharge, I said goodbye to the medical staff who had taken care of me and returned home. However, when I got home, I found that the door wouldn't open, it's locked. Our relationship had already cooled, so we didn't want to hear each other's voices. But I mustered up the courage to contact my husband again. After a while, he answered the phone and said, "What do you want? I don't have time to talk to you. You were discharged, right? I'm glad you're alive." He said that in a cold, blunt voice. Well, I just wanted to know. I came home after being discharged, but the door won't open, it's locked. So I was wondering what happened. When I said that, I heard a laugh from the other end of the phone, and he said, "I already divorced you. Just clean up your room and get out. You don't have a place to come back to anymore." He showered me with such terrible words. "What are you talking about? You're the one who should leave." Even though I said that, my husband didn't listen at all. After a while of silence, he said something even worse. "I still want a child. Because you can't have one, I found another woman. I filed for divorce and started living with her. Younger women are better in many ways." "What are you talking about?" Carter, who was excited about divorcing me, said that he had filed for divorce on his own and was living with a new woman. Moreover, according to what I heard, the woman he was living with was already pregnant. It definitely overlapped with the period of my marriage to him. "I don't think so, but were you cheating?" "Oh, that. It's no big deal. All you want is a tiny consolation fee anyway." "I thought you'd say that, so I've prepared compensation for both me and her. $50,000 should be enough, right?" Carter, who had filed for divorce on his own and admitted to cheating, was being ridiculous. "Well, that's fine. But it's strange to announce it at this time. It's impossible." I decided that I wouldn't forgive him anymore. I also decided to send that man and his mistress to hell together. Afterwards, Carter returned home in high spirits. "Finish cleaning up before my honey gets here and leave. And here's the promised consolation money of $50,000. Don't get involved with us anymore. My honey, our child in her belly, and I will live happily ever after, so don't interfere." "Oh, I see. You even had a child. That's amazing." Seeing Carter happily bragging like that made me feel sorry for him. But I thought it would be a waste to reveal the truth right away, so I decided to wait and see for a while. I packed up my room and left as I was told. I was very upset by all the sarcastic remarks, but I was still only 38 years old. I had been cured of my illness, and my future should be bright. I had to tell myself that. When I picked up the $50,000 in front of me, Carter looked down on me with a smirk and a faint smile. "You're amazing after all. I thought you had too much pride to take money. But you need money to live." "Well, I have as much money as I want, so it's okay." "Well, yes. I need money to live. So you should enjoy your life to the fullest. When are you getting married?" I was so curious about what would happen next that I asked him that, but Carter, who wasn't thinking about anything, said happily. "She's a first-time bride, and we're planning to get married tomorrow. Aren't you jealous?" "Oh, I see. That's great. Congratulations. Good luck." I said that and left the house. I went to a real estate agent because that one house was originally handed down to me by my grandfather when I was single. I don't know why he treated it like his own property, but I decided to sell the house and drive the two of them who were pretending to be happy out. That was my first revenge. When I went to a real estate agent, he said, "What? Are you going to sell it? What a waste. It was just renovated a few years ago. But well, it's such a good property that it should sell quickly. I'll start the procedures immediately." He said that. I honestly explained the situation and asked him not to tell anyone that my ex-husband was still living in that house and that I wanted him to stay until the last minute. Then I went to a private detective agency. I told them everything I wanted to investigate, and they said they would contact me as soon as the results were available. My goal was to see Carter's troubled face crying to me a few months later and prepare for my second revenge. In the meantime, I told my parents that I had divorced and looked for a new home. I was busier than I thought. About a month later, after everything was ready, I decided to wait for a call from Carter. A week passed, and I finally received a call from him. I thought Carter, who was always prepared, would respond calmly no matter what I did, but surprisingly, he was quite agitated and called my name in a trembling voice. "Anna. It's me. I thought you wouldn't answer the phone, but I'm glad you did." "Yes, what is it?" Carter, who said with a voice that sounded like he was about to cry, began to speak in a trembling voice. "There are so many things I want to say, but we have to leave this house immediately." "And what do you mean the child in my new wife's belly isn't mine?" He must have read the certified mail from the lawyer carefully. He seemed more concerned about the child in his new wife's belly than about leaving the house. So I decided to tell him the truth. "Oh, did you see it? Well, you know, your new wife, Emily, right? She said she was working as a company secretary, but apparently she was working at night. And as you can see, there were a lot of men besides you. The child in her belly is probably not yours." "Well, that's obvious. After all, you're the one with severe infertility." "No, but that's what I'm saying. Am I infertile? I don't know anything about that. I didn't hear anything. Was I deceived by Emily in the first place?" Carter was in a panic. His voice was trembling, and it was hard to understand what he was saying. He didn't seem to know what to do next. That's why I wanted him to go to the obstetrics and gynecology department. But he didn't listen to me at all, so he got what he deserved. Anyway, I decided to confront Carter with reality and explain everything to him one by one. First, the house he was living in was my property, and a buyer had been found, so he had to leave immediately. Second, his new wife had many other partners besides Carter, some of whom were married. Third, Carter himself was infertile, so there was a high probability that the child in Emily's belly was not his. I explained all of these things in detail, using the results of the investigation as a guide. What? What am I supposed to do now? I've already given Emily tens of thousands of dollars. Instead of listening to me, he started explaining the damage he had suffered. To be honest, I didn't care about his story. It felt like he was the one who was at fault for being obsessed with a young woman. And then I said to him as the finishing blow, "Didn't Emily have 2 or 3 married partners among her boyfriends?" I was wondering what to do, so I sent the results of this investigation to that person's wife. I also sent it to their company. I think you will receive compensation claims from them soon, but good luck. What are you doing? You don't have to do that. What do you have against me? Please stop. Carter was almost crying, but he was still appealing to me. I had been patient with him for over 10 years to make him suffer like this. I didn't even feel sympathy for him, no matter how painful, sad, or frustrating he looked. Rather, I felt like he should fall into more hell. Hey, I know it's convenient to say this now, but why don't we get back together? We were originally a loving couple, so I think we can reconcile if we talk. What? Are you stupid? Carter, who had completely lost his mind, proposed to get back together. I couldn't even imagine such a thought process, so I was disgusted. And not only did I not want to get back together, but my revenge wasn't over yet. No matter how much you cry or scream, I have no intention of forgiving you. And I don't think anyone will help you. I've exposed everything to your family, and of course I've exposed everything to your company. You must be kidding. Did you really go to my parents and tell them? How much do you want to hurt me? Finally, Carter broke down in tears. I won. That's how I felt. Your parents were also completely bewildered by what you were doing. And they were surprised that you didn't report that you had divorced and remarried a cute woman. No, there's a reason for that. I was going to tell them someday. I had always thought that my in-laws had avoided me because I couldn't have children, but when I went to greet, apologize, and report to them when I divorced this time, I learned that my in-laws, especially my mother-in-law, were very worried about me. I heard you gave up on infertility treatment. It must have been hard, right? Actually, I also overcame years of painful treatment before I was blessed with Carter. I told him that many times, but it seems like he was saying terrible things to you, Anna. I'm really sorry. That stupid son of mine. He's the worst for not appreciating such a hardworking wife. I don't think of him as my son anymore. He's disowned. Both of them were so red-faced that they supported me. Carter was the only one who had lived selfishly without considering other people's feelings. So no matter what happens from now on, Carter should solve it himself. That's why you should walk the rest of your life alone. Whether you raise Emily's child or not is up to you. Either way, it will cost you money in many ways. Well, that's it. Wait a minute. Ignoring the crying Carter, I hung up the phone. After that, I immediately refused the call and became unresponsive. Until then, I had been patient and couldn't say what I wanted to say, so that day was very refreshing. I was thinking about what Carter would think and do from now on, but as expected, he divorced Emily right away. He probably thought it was useless to contribute to her anymore. If there were any compensation claims, he would have had to shoulder the burden, and he finally realized that staying with Emily would make the people around him look at him harshly. Well, he can't go back to his parents' house even if he leaves home, and he's sure to be looked at with suspicion by people at work, so he's forced to be lonely. Anyway, that's what he deserves. I just hope he'll live his life in a way that values the people around him more. There were many things, but I'm looking forward to enjoying my second life from now on.